America's Future Energy Consumption by Mitchell Brown. Americans' current energy consumption. The United States heavily relies on fossil fuel-based energy sources to power everything from our cars to our homes. Finding alternative, more cost-efficient, and environmentally sound forms of energy are on all politicians' minds. These alternative sources of energy include solar, wind, and nuclear power. Currently, America consumes 26% of the world's energy. 68% of this consumption is from fossil fuels. The U.S. domestically produces 40% of the fossil fuels consumed, while relying on foreign countries for the rest of the fossil fuel. Big coal companies. New environmental rules and low-cost natural gas have led to the closing of major coal companies. Coal is primary electricity source for the U.S. The need for coal is growing in China. Coal production has increased in western states rather than the traditional eastern board states. Some experts still predict that coal will be the primary source of fuel in a decade. China's consumption can single-handedly expand the growth of America's coal production. The International Energy Agency says this will determine if coal consumption reduces to 3.3 billion tons or rises to 6 billion tons by 2035. Coal companies are becoming consolidated, with only 4 major companies producing half of the U.S. coal. The new machinery in this industry has reduced the need for people working in the mines. This has caused large unemployment rates in West Virginia and Tennessee. Our natural resources. Our alarming consumption rates lead some experts to say that our natural gas and fossil fuel reserves will be gone by the year 2050. From a long-term perspective, alternative sources of energy like solar, wind, and nuclear will reduce the costs as well as reduce emissions that are harmful to the environment. Solar power. The United States has already started investing large sums of money into the development of solar power facilities across the country that are state-of-the-art. For the first time, the United States has invested more money into solar energy than the industry leaders, China and Germany. The amount of money spent in the past 18 months by the United States on solar power is more than has been spent in the past 30 years. Solar power is the source of only 1% of our nation's energy consumption. New technologies are predicted to significantly improve efficiency. This would allow us to utilize the unlimited amounts of solar power that would be able to satisfy much of the world's energy consumption. Wind power. One of the questions often debated is whether it is economically viable to continue to invest in the construction of windmills when the price of the produced electricity is significantly higher than that generated by nuclear plants. Even with this complaint, wind energy is growing annually 10 to 40% worldwide. Europe and China have already taken the initiative to start building offshore wind energy plants. Wind speeds are faster and more reliable while out at sea. There seems to be 2 ways of constructing these mills in the water. The first is the building of artificial islands that would allow for a sturdy base upon which to set the windmills. The other technique would be to build structures underwater similar to an oil rig in the ocean. Wind energy, nuclear energy, could theoretically be the solution for our energy needs. However, the shadow of a Hiroshima mushroom cloud and the suspicion of nuclear energy has led power plants to be cast in an unsafe or even uneven light. It produces no greenhouse emissions and thus is better for the environment and the atmosphere around it. Like coal, it could produce unlimited energy. However, unlike coal, the price of nuclear power would not fluctuate based on market factors. The United States is one of the few world economic powers that minimally relies on nuclear power for its current and future energy. No new nuclear plants have been built in the United States in the last 30 years. The estimated time to build a nuclear plant is twice that of coal, wind, or solar plants. The cost of building a nuclear plant is also twice that of a coal mine. Until either natural gas prices skyrocket or regulations and penalties increase in severity for fossil fuel energy plants emitting greenhouse gases, then it will not become economically viable to create nuclear plants. Fracking. Fracking is injecting fluids into shale formations to release natural gas and oil. The Keystone XL pipeline could deliver crude and light crude oil from newly discovered tar sands in Canada to refineries in the United States. Fracking in North Dakota's Bacon Shale Basin could produce 100,000 of barrels of crude oil per day, also delivered by the Keystone XL. The debate is essentially between producing low-cost oil and natural gas versus the effects of the pipeline on our environment and fossil fuel emissions on the environment. If the Keystone XL is approved and fracking regulations and restrictions are lessened, this would deliver low-cost fossil fuel energy sources to and within the United States.